This is 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
It's time now for something new for you. It's KRAE Reports, a week in review. Now let's check in with our program right here on 1480 KRAE Cheyenne. And good morning. Welcome once again to KRAE Reports, a week in review. I'm Larry Perletti, back from vacation, along with Nick Perletti. And we get an opportunity to do the political thing. Again, first and foremost, we encourage you, if you have not done the absentee or the mail-in, please get out. And again, one person, one vote. Get out and vote next Tuesday here in the state of Wyoming. And again, a lot on the line as we have a lot of positions that are open, including the Big Five, as I call it, here in the state of Wyoming, governor all the way down. And we get a chance to talk to a lady that is running in that Big Five. She is running for Superintendent of Public Instruction. She is a Republican nominee with her victory, a close victory. Let's put it at that, in the August primary, Megan Degenfelder. And Megan, thank you so much for joining us. And let's get the Megan Degenfelder resume once again for our listeners, as again to help them make their decision coming up here on Tuesday.
Well, great. Thanks so much for having me. I come from a sixth-generation Wyoming ranching family. I grew up in Casper, attended public schools, and graduated from the University of Wyoming, and have been fortunate to build my entire career here in my home state. And that's really why I'm really passionate about this job, to make sure we provide those same kind of opportunities to the future generations. I've spent time in the private sector as well as education. I worked in the coal industry up in Gillette, and now work in oil and gas, and also worked at the State Department of Education in an executive position under previous state superintendent Jillian Balow.
Let's talk about with our current superintendent of public instruction. He was appointed, Brian Schrader, and again too, we look at his time in that position, and again, you defeated him in the August primary. And one of the nicer things I want to say about the primary campaign is that it was a very civil campaign. Also, not too far of differences in thinking of what needs to be done for our children, K through 12, here in the state of Wyoming.
Absolutely. It was a great race. We all worked very hard. And what was really exciting was the opportunity for everyone in the state to have a vote, to have a say in this position. And so I was very humbled by the grassroots support that we had here. We had hundreds of individual donors, 90% of which were here in Wyoming. It truly was a grassroots approach. And I think that our message really resonated with voters, of making sure that we're empowering parents, that we're partnering with industry to make sure our kids are prepared for their jobs, and we're cutting back on government and overreach as it relates to education.
A lot of miles, square miles to be covered here, from the northwest here to southeast Wyoming and points beyond. But tell us a little bit, when you were out and about, and again, you're still out and about, tell us a little bit the concerns from school districts across the state of Wyoming. And again, too, I'm sure you've had the opportunity to talk with various superintendents of those school districts. What is our lead concerns that you need to tackle if elected?
So we put on about 40,000 miles on the car this summer, and it was really important to me to get out to every single corner of the state, every county, numerous times. And I sat down with about 45 of the 48 school district superintendents. And I heard a lot of concerns, whether it be from parents, community members, to the education community. Some of those concerns include that gap between our industry, our jobs, and the education system, making sure that we're preparing kids better for the workforce. Also that transparency, making sure that our communities and our school districts are transparent and working with each other. And also within the school districts, a lot of concerns over the teacher shortage that we're seeing in the state and the country, as well as mental health of our students.
Well, something also too, we are seeing right now, and again, we've had many, at least members on, at least here on KRAE Reports, talk about it. The WEA and also to Laramie County School District number 1 filing a lawsuit against the state of Wyoming regarding just financials. Again, at least the lawsuit is about just more so of, hey, funds that have been misplaced or again deserve to go across this entire state for funding or at least school education is being used the wrong way. Want to get your thoughts on that again with the lawsuit of, is that something that you're in favor for, impose? Is it something that if you are elected as state superintendent that, hey, we kind of pressure the state legislator to say, make sure that, hey, these school districts across, not even just here in Cheyenne, again, in Laramie County, but throughout the entire state are properly funded?
Absolutely. I mean, we want to make sure that our schools are adequately and equitably funded. We are locked in by the state constitution to do so. Our founding fathers made that very clear, that was important to adequately and equitably fund our schools. I think this lawsuit is going to be really interesting to see how things shake out. Of course, when we talk about funding, that's the role of the state legislature. As superintendent, I'm ready to go to work and create as many efficiencies as we can in education. I did so when I was chief policy officer there, and to work really hard on those state land board, state loan and investment board to make sure that we're maximizing revenue for schools in the way that the superintendent has authority over.
So even with at least the state funded in this lawsuit, which again will be, I do believe another hearing will happen November 7th, and we will see what comes out of that. But as we talk about concerns and needs and wants for these school districts across the state of Wyoming, what have you found out at least that our children are being educated on, or at least kind of levels of where do we stand across the nation? Is that something to be improved upon? Are we above most states? What have you noticed that, again, test scores across the state compared to others?
Sure. So just recently we had the NAEP results. The NAEP is, of course, a nationwide test that all 4th and 8th graders take in reading and math. And what we saw from those results that while by and large, there were decreases due to the pandemic, we saw that Wyoming maintained higher than average results in both reading and math in both 4th and 8th grade. That's a great thing. We're doing things well. There's certainly many areas that we can look to improve. We're going to continue to do that as we move forward.
As you said earlier that you had that opportunity to work under former Superintendent of Public Instruction, Jillian Bela. Tell us some of the things that you learned or adapted to, and again, things that you would be able to bring to the table if elected here in next Tuesday.
I'm very grateful for that experience under Superintendent Jillian Belo. I can confidently say that day one, I'll be ready to go to work. I understand the department, I understand the key players there, and I really think that we can start working right away and hit the ground running. Some of the things that I really worked hard on during that time was to partner with the legislature. We updated the state's educational basket of goods for the first time in 20 years. It was a heavy lift. It took several years. That partnership, that knowledge of how to work with our legislature and our other areas of government, I think are really important. And understanding how the state's second largest state agency works and how we can create efficiencies and work together, bridging the gap between our state government, our local school districts, and our community, our larger public of voters, is going to be very important in this role.
We are officially out of the pandemic era. And again, we keep our fingers crossed that it never does come our way. How far behind the learning curve, in your opinion, are we because of the pandemic? And again, catching up, it has to, not go leaps and bounds, but little steps each and every day. Are we behind the learning curve thanks to the pandemic?
We are, and we're seeing that nationwide. Of course, there were learning gaps because of this pandemic. Fortunately, Wyoming had more in-person school days than any other state in the country. I think that really helped us. But we have to keep working to recover that learning loss. And that's exactly what the COVID relief dollars are meant to do. These are one-time funds. We've got to use those effectively to make sure that they're going towards that purpose and recognizing that those are one-time use funds.
And you mentioned, again, regarding the pandemic and something you mentioned earlier, again, the concerns across the state is teacher shortages, which, again, we are feeling here in Cheyenne through, again, whether it's Cheyenne East, Central South, all the way down to our elementary schools. What, in your opinion, is the way, again, if you are in this position of power, talking with at least our local superintendents, how do we go about recruiting teachers, or at least getting folks coming fresh out of college to join the teacher workforce here in the state of Wyoming? How do we go about to recruit basically here to the state of Wyoming?
It's a great question, and one that every state in this country is grappling with. And I don't think we're going to have one silver bullet answer. We're going to have an all hands on deck approach and look at many different areas. You have to look at the recruitment as well as retention. When we look at retention, we know that incentives matter. We've historically paid our teachers very well in the state, and that has been of tremendous benefit to our state. And so when we look at that shortage, of course, we need to look at incentives. We need to look at how we're supporting our teachers with supports, making sure that we're partnering with those institutions of higher learning like the University of Wyoming to make sure that we're adequately preparing those teachers.
Let's look at the state of education for the state of Wyoming. And again, too, I think back in days where it was each student was worth X amount of dollars. Are we still right around that, I'll use the word Mendoza line for students versus dollars for that student? Again, some of the smaller districts, everybody was saying, hey, they got more dollars per student. But are we pretty much in tune with all students now being represented equally?
Yes, and that funding model, our ADM, the model in which that works, we are meant to be equitably funding kids all around the state so that a child in Saratoga, a child in Jackson, and a child in Cheyenne are all funded equitably in the same manner.
Are we right now, again, going back to the state of education, is the education process, and again, learning, funding, everything right now pretty much where you like it to be, or things that you need to come in right away and say, hey, I need to A, B, C, D?
There's definitely several things that I'd like to come in and do. The State Board of Education right now is looking at competency-based learning rather than just those test scores. And so how we do that, how we really become a 21st century education system. For me, I'd really like to increase transparency as it relates to our community members and our education system to make sure that we're all in this together and we're all aware of what's going on in the child's classroom.
We're in the technology era, obviously. And again, some of the outlying areas are still, a little behind. How do we help out those outlying areas to come into the 21st century?
Absolutely. So we've made huge improvements as it relates to broadband, as it relates to access for virtual education for kids. And for me, educational choice is really important. And that includes wherever a child lives, that they can have choice in whatever best suits their learning needs. And so when we look at technology, when we look at those virtual options, I think continuing to maximize those and look how we can provide as many supports to students as possible.
Megan, I want to get your thoughts on something that recently happened, especially here in Cheyenne over at Little America, where Brian Schrader was in attendance. Again, a few folks, it's kind of an open forum where he came in front of public and just kind of gave his opinion on kind of the sexualization of at least our schools, especially here in the state of Wyoming, or at least in his opinion of what he thought is coming to public education here in the state of Wyoming, especially in our elementary on up. Is it something that, is that a fear, or I guess plain and simple for you, Megan, is that a reality that's actually happening here in Wyoming, or are we kind of staying away from, as we see the major markets kind of bring in this new kind of learning, or at least experiences, or again, these teachings, are we as bad off as the rest of the nation with kind of sexualization on down to, again, kind of the younger children?
I think what's really interesting that we're seeing across the country is that education has become the epicenter of these culture wars. And so what we want to make sure is that our kids are exposed to a well-rounded factual education that's free from political bias. As it relates to sexualization of students, I actually spoke to the Natrona County School Board on Monday about a couple of books that they're reviewing. For me, in that way, any material that is explicit, has, sexually explicit materials that's not age appropriate, doesn't belong in our K-12 public schools. Of course, when it comes to books, when it comes to curriculum, that is a local school board decision. But I think it's incredibly important that we work together on these issues and we make sure that the public, that parents have a voice, and that we are using that collaborative process to do what's best for kids in Wyoming.
I'm glad that Nick brought that up too, because, and you also said the key word in there, parents. This is very important across the nation. The parents are speaking up. And they're mad as hell, and they're not going to take it anymore. And bravo to the parents for showing up at these school board meetings and expressing their views. Parents, what are their fears right now that you have to take into consideration as you move into this job if elected?
So all across the state, I heard from parents with these concerns of political bias, sexually explicit materials being implemented in the classroom. They're worried. They want to know what's going on in their kids' school. We have great schools. We have great administrators in the state. We've got to bridge that gap and make sure that we're communicating about what those things are and working together to make sure that those topics are not within our schools. Topics like critical race theory, any type of political bias has no place in our Wyoming public education system. And the way that we do this is we partner with our parents and our schools to make sure that doesn't happen.
Is the current curriculum acceptable to you, or again, things that need to be, I don't want to say tweaked, but need to be up to modern times?
So curriculum is a decision of a local school district. So we want to make sure that that's as transparent as possible. I think we have a long ways to go in terms of transparency. I'd really like to launch a statewide education transparency website where taxpayers, where parents can access school districts across the state and see what library books are in the library, see what curriculum is being provided. That greater sense of transparency will make it so that we can identify when these political biases occur in the classroom.
As we talk about improvements, are there other states in this nation that you notice, again, we look at test scores, we look at graduation rates, we look at those moving on to the next level out of, again, public school? Are there things from other states that you want to try and implement, again, for instance, again, the state of Florida, again, throughout? Have you been looking across the state, or at least across the nation, of what we could bring to Wyoming?
Of course. I mean, I think we can always look to other states for ideas and make sure that it always fits best in Wyoming. We want to tweak that so that it works best for our communities here. But as it relates, areas such as school choice, such as funding, we want to make sure that we're pulling from different states and making it work the Wyoming way.
I mentioned graduation rates here in the state of Wyoming, which, again, last check, it's near the top here across the nation. That, again, we are moving those folks on to the next level. And again, we have multiple options here within the state. Again, you mentioned, again, attending the University of Wyoming. We also do have community colleges, again, whether here in town with LCCC. We also do have Wyotech as a trade school. How do we prepare our children, or again, those in public education, for that next level? How do we show that also too there's options, not just to go to, again, a secondary level, again, for community college or university, but again, there are trade jobs that pay pretty well as well.
Exactly. And that's been a key platform of my campaign, making sure that we're partnering with industry, we're exposing kids. I think the solution here is by creating as many choices and career pathways as possible. Our kids can be exposed to what these differing options are. They can find what suits their learning style, their skills the most. They can look at what that return on their investment is going to be, and they can see what job opportunities are available in the state.
The governor had to make some tough choices during the pandemic, asking everybody to tighten their belt. Are we out of that danger zone? And again, too, I know how the country is rolling along these days, but are we out of that danger zone where the governor said tighten the belts, or is it something that, hey, I'm okay with that. I can stretch that dollar, so to speak?
We just saw in the KRAE report that our revenues for the state of Wyoming are higher than the projections. That's a good thing. However, we always want to be cognizant of the fact of our tax structure, of the mineral industry, and how we can have booms and busts in the state. And we want to make sure that in education we have sustainable funding. We still are seeing about $190 million shortfall in education. We're also seeing that the legislative model is falling beneath the evidence-based model, whereas we used to overfund the evidence-based model in education. So, I think that these conversations are still at the forefront of the legislature with the governor, even though we're seeing a little bit rosy of a picture within the KRAE report.
As you take a look at your upcoming race here, again, it'll officially be determined here on next Tuesday night. But let's talk about the differences between you and your opponent. And again, your opponent really was, I don't want to use the word insignificant, but did not really have to campaign hard because most of the activity was on the Republican side. So tell us some of the differences between the Republican, you, and the Democratic opponent.
Sure. So, a couple differences personally. For me, I come with a background both in private sector and education. I think as we try to tackle these tough issues of preparing our kids for jobs, that's really important to have that tie to industry and to see where that gap lies between the two. I also think that on those boards, including the State Land Board, State Loan and Investment Board, it's critical that we have folks that understand state and business development on those lands and how to manage that $25 billion investment portfolio. I also bring, of course, a very conservative approach to education. I believe that, again, we need to be better partnering with our parents, that we need to be identifying efficiencies and making sure that we're preparing kids for jobs.
When elected officials are elected, and again, Wyoming's a little bit different. Wyoming gets out and about. But, you think of some of the other big states, and they just pretty much hang out in the state capitol and call it good. Tell us a little bit about you, and if elected, what are your plans to cover the state? So again, we talked to you today. Will you be in Jackson or Teton County holding public forums or discussions with administrators? Tell us a little bit what your plans are. Again, not to just be planted here in Cheyenne.
Yes, this is very important to me. I've lived in numerous communities across the state, and this summer, really proved how different our communities are. And that's what's so critical in our government and our decision making, that local level authority. And so it's really important to me to make sure to get out across the state. I will be doing that frequently. I'd like to host meetings with teachers individually to get thoughts from them, community members, make sure that I'm traveling just as much as I did this summer, because those voices of voters across the state aren't always going to be the same as those right here in Cheyenne.
Well, Megan, we had a very interesting conversation with you. We do appreciate it. We wish you all the best coming up next Tuesday. Real quick before we let you go, and again, you pretty much have give us your planks of your campaign, but one last time for our listeners to get that opportunity to go to the polls next Tuesday, or again, if they haven't done their mail-in ballot, their absentee, one last campaign swing for you here on 1480 KRAE. Tell us a little bit why we should vote for Megan Degenfelder, Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Education is such a critical topic right now in our country and in our state. We want to make sure that we have leaders that know how to empower our parents as the number one decision maker in their child's education, to partner with our local school districts, to make sure that we're preparing kids for jobs right here in Wyoming, and that we're reducing that red tape. We're cutting back on government as it relates to the classroom.
Megan, we appreciate you joining us today on the show as well. One last thing as well before we let you go. Social media side, website, again, for more information, how to get in contact with you as well. Again, folks, before at least November 8th, give the information again where folks can find out even more information about you online.
You can find us on Megan Degenfelder for State Superintendent on Facebook, or our website is megdeg4wyoming.com.
Megan Degenfelder joining us here on 1480 KRAE, again, running for Superintendent of Public Instruction, the Republican nominee. Again, most importantly, when you get that opportunity next Tuesday, get out and do your constitutional right. Cast your ballot, vote for whoever you feel is the best candidate for the position that is being offered. All right, we are going to take a time out. We'll come back with more of KRAE Reports that we can review right after this.
Your locally owned and operated radio stations, KYOI FM and 1480 KRAE AM, are just that, local, serving Cheyenne and Laramie County, where your advertising dollar stays local too. It doesn't end up in Colorado, Oklahoma, New Hampshire, or even New York. We conduct business here, we shop here, and we live here. And we support our entire community 24/7, 365. Just because it has a window dressing doesn't mean it isn't a facade. A reminder from KYOI at 1480 KRAE.
When you are dealing with the coin shop to buy, sell, or trade your gold, silver, or other precious metals, you will be met with honesty, fairness, knowledge, and exceptional customer service. The coin shop has been serving Cheyenne since 1982 and is a respected member of our community. Call David today at 778-7196 to meet privately or visit during regular business hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. The Coin Shop, a dealer you can trust, 510 West 16th Street.
It's Lee at Absolute Flooring. Are you planning on new flooring soon but are hesitating due to the latest financial news? Let Absolute Flooring help you out. With a great selection of all types of flooring and a large array of styles and colors, plus our commitment to make your purchase the most affordable, it's time to stop in at Absolute Flooring. And with no interest financing in place, Why not make your way now to 3573 East Lincoln Way and visit us at absoluteflooringwyo.com. Remember, it's always your home, your floor, your store. Absolutely.
Community is more than a place. It's a feeling of belonging. At Platte Valley Bank, we are passionate about the communities we serve and the people who live in them. Just like you, we are everyday people who contribute to our community and believe that together we can make a difference. Visit us today at www.pvbank.com. Experience the difference. You belong here.
Platte Valley Bank, member FDIC.
At the Cheyenne Regional Cancer Center, we take a caring, comprehensive approach to cancer treatment and prevention. To best serve your needs, we provide chemotherapy, radiation oncology, and infusion treatments, as well as the quality care, resources, and support you need from one warm, welcoming location that's close to home. For more about our compassionate approach to cancer care and prevention, visit CheyenneRegional.org/cancer.
Sweetie, want some fruit?
You have to use the right tool for the job. A power drill is the wrong tool to slice fruit. Just like an antibiotic is the wrong tool to treat viruses, including colds and flu. Antibiotics are only needed for certain bacterial infections. When they aren't needed, antibiotics won't help you, and the side effects could still hurt you. Ask your healthcare professional when an antibiotic is the right tool and when it's not. Visit cdc.gov/antibiotic-use.
Treat your taste buds to a warm bagel and Mort's Bagels with your favorite cream cheese. Perfect for the office or perfect at home. Mort's Bagels are always made fresh and delicious daily. They are perfect for breakfast and lunch too. Did I mention perfect? For 3 decades, Mort's has served us with amazing bagels and customer service. Ask about their specialty and seasonal selections too. They even deliver. Mort's Bagels. Treat yourself today. 1815 KRAE Avenue, downtown Cheyenne.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 KRAE.
Otherwise, for today, Halloween, sunshine expected daytime high near 62, mostly clear tonight, a low down to 34. Sunny again tomorrow. We're looking for a daytime high near 65, and for Tuesday night, a partly cloudy night, a low down to 37.
We welcome you back to KRAE Reports, a Week in Review. I'm Larry Proetti, along with Nick Proetti. We bring on our next guest. He is Ken Esquibel, and he is currently on the City Council looking for your vote for re-election. Again, as we will, I'm not going to say beat a dead horse. We want you to get out and vote coming up next Tuesday. If you have not done your mail-in, get that done. Your absentee, get that all done, because, again, the votes are going to be tabulated coming up next Tuesday night.
Ken, who is a representative of our ward, Ward 3.
Ward 3, yeah. And also, too, from, again, a very political family. The Esquibels have been a part of our community, whether it's in the State House legislature or now working for the city of Cheyenne. But, again, always working for the city. So,
yeah,
Ken,
going
thank you
back
so much.
about 30 years now, I think.
Yeah, I've been here since '86, so I know the family very well. Let's talk about Ken Esquibel. First off, you had a very successful run in the State House for about 10 years. What prompted you to step away from state politics and get involved on the local side?
I think it was just, it felt like coming home and seeing a lot of the issues that the city was facing at the time. I just thought my experience would lend a hand to a lot of the issues that we were facing at the time, and it was an open seat. And I just came home from work one day and I just told my wife, I said, I think I'm going to run for city council. It's more of a local control. You're dealing with people that your neighbors, your friends, and you see the fruits of your labor a lot more than you do at the state level.
It's a nonpartisan city council, and again, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, doesn't matter. You got 10 voices on there, 9 city council members, 3 from each ward, and a mayor. How do, again, different philosophies and again, what the constituents think, but tell us a little bit, how tough is it for all 10 of you to come together on individual projects?
It really hasn't been that tough. It's really a good working, cohesive group. We're concise. We have goal setting sessions, and we kind of come together with what that common sense approach to the needs of the city are. And I've always used sports analogies. We're like a good baseball team where we got good hitters, we got good pitchers, we got good outfielders, we got good relievers,
and you got a good manager, I guess, in the mayor, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Ken, as you alluded to, again, getting at least on board with the city council, and again, looking for re-election. Again, we talked about the problems back then. What are the problems right now that City of Cheyenne, especially Ward 3, is facing, in your opinion, and how do you at least anticipate all of these, again, working entities on the city council to improve, including, or at least I should, especially for Ward 3?
Well, we just had a work session Friday on affordable housing. We are, in essence, landlocked, so we're looking at changing some of the things we have within our UDC codes, whether or not we're going to be able to go a little more vertical. Now, I think 4 stories is about as high as you'll see any apartment building in Cheyenne. That's because our fire trucks, the ladders, are only able to reach so high. So density is an issue. Of course, crime is a big issue right now. I just talked to the mayor here a couple weeks ago, and I think we're going to look to increase that police department budget in this next year. We're probably close to 20 officers short. We only have 7 on traffic right now. But if you are a Ward 3 resident, you're going to see, and probably already are starting to see, we broke ground on the new fire station is just up the block here from your station, and we're going to be breaking ground on the other 2, and they're both in Ward 3 here in the next few weeks.
Something I want to get your opinion on, Ken, and it's been a hotbed issue here in Cheyenne for many a week now. Again, folks have been on one side or the other. Annexation, which again is affecting all wards, it sounds like right now. Again, there's a potential of expansion and adding to, again, all 3 of our wards here in the city of Cheyenne. What is your thoughts and opinions on annexation? Are you for, against? Again, we've seen folks push back for the city saying, hey, we want to be county residents. Just give us your opinion on this annexation topic right now.
Well, the city's really come a long way in trying to make annexation easier. So I don't believe in forced annexation, but a lot of those initial applications and the costs for annexing from county to city are being taken care of up front by the city. The only things that I think that a county resident would feel financially would be the additional 5 mils from being a city resident as opposed to being a county resident. But the city is facing in these county pockets are the example was when the Sergeant Supply caught fire. So we had to have city police direct traffic around that fire while county fire was able to respond when we could have been there 4 or 5 minutes. And, if that's a structure fire or if it's somebody losing their life, a situation like that, we would feel bad that we did not respond as fast as we could, or we didn't do everything that we thought we had in our power to do. And it's a problem. So when one little pocket is county and everything around it is city, and like I said, we were landlocked with growth, and so it's just another way for the city to try and provide services for people that actually use city services.
Ken, let's talk about that. And I'm glad that you mentioned the supply sergeant there on Ridge, but also, too, let's look at College. For example, some portions east of College are county as well as the other side is city. When you talk to these residents, and again, not so much the threat of annexation, but the possibility of annexation, why are some of the, and again, we've been speculating, so let's get it straight from the horse's mouth. What is the reason or the pullback from those county residents why they don't want to be annexed?
I think they're set in their ways, and people are afraid of change. And they're worried that, you know, now that they're going to be a city resident, they'll be bound by city ordinances. And in some respect, that's true. But also, in some of the studies we did, the county residents actually use about 75% of city services, you know, and that's not including water, sewer, and there's one other one in there, I guess the fire, right? The protection.
Protection services,
right?
yes.
So I think a lot of it is really some misunderstandings and not having the right knowledge about the process. So that's why we went to try and become more transparent with the residents that would possibly be affected. And like I said, they're not going to be forced to do it. We're just trying to make it easier for them to do it.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned UDC, Unified Development Code. I had that opportunity about 10 years ago to go through it, about 256 pages worth, as I recall. It was kind of like cramming for an exam. But as I remember reading the UDC, and my balking towards it was, gosh, you know, they talk down to you. If you want to be a business owner, do you really want to open a business if you want to be on the local side? How much has changed with UDC? Is it more restrictive or less restrictive? Because it seems like there's a lot of you must, you have to, you will.
Yeah, we're trying to be extremely business friendly, especially in the economic climate we're in right now. And if you look just in Ward 3 over the past couple of years, you've seen vacant lots turn into vibrant economic lots. For example, where Dazabog is and Doghouse and Cadoba, that area. I mean, it's a big change. So the things that we've kind of looked at are not requiring as much landscaping, but we do want them to be able to have an aesthetically pleasing business. So as we travel around, I've kind of looked at what some of the other cities are doing. One of the things I think that I liked was how they limit how high their signs could be. So they have them more at eye level and ground level. And you wouldn't think that's a big deal, but I just thought that as you were driving through, I think it was Erie, Colorado was one of the newer developments that I noticed how they did that. And, you know, it's probably some of the things we're going to have to think about, but we're going to probably go through that UDC code page by page in the next year or two and talk to businesses and talk to developers and see what they want. You know, we don't just make these decisions on our own.
Ken, if you're reelected to this position, again, representative of City Council Ward 3, again, we talk about the landscape, again, and the amount of just territory that Ward 3 encompasses, especially around College Drive, just across the street from LCCC. Again, there's a lot of open land out there, possibilities to bring in businesses, houses, as we are seeing across from LCCC. Again, what would you love for, again, a lot of that territory? Again, we know we have inquiries from corporations to set up, again, you know, basically similar to Lowe's and again, Walmart, those distribution centers. Again, a lot of entities want to bring a lot of big business here to Cheyenne. Is that what you're hopeful for, especially to fill some of those land pockets of building businesses, bring in revenue tax dollars? Is that also to a possibility, a reality that could happen?
Yeah, we looked at the area there around Sweetgrass when they were doing the master plan and working with the Lummis family. It had a convention center in there. It had a golf course in there. We are looking at a lot more quality of life issues and, you know, for things for people to do. We've had that rec center on the ballot a few times, and, you know, I think there's one of the things the legislature's looking at is to allow municipalities, if they're going to do a tax that's specific just to that municipality, they don't have to include the whole county in it. So people in Burns and Alvin, Pine Bluffs, they would vote no on a rec center because they weren't going to use it. And yet, when I was working for the railroad, I went to North Platte, Nebraska. It's about a third the size of Cheyenne. They had a beautiful rec center. You know, it had an Olympic-sized swimming pool. It had 3 basketball courts, indoor tennis courts, racquetball courts, running track, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, for everybody.
Yeah, we know that, again, being out in North Platte, we've seen a lot of these communities have these rec centers, again, opportunities out there. And again, it's a shame that Cheyenne doesn't have it as of right now. Again, as you're talking athletics and sports, again, outside it is in Ward 1, but again, it still affects Cheyenne residents. Is the Ice and Event Center, again, formerly occupied by, again, high school, at least hockey with the Cheyenne Stampede, again, has been out of business for quite some time. And we know as well from the Independence League, college baseball does want to come to Cheyenne. Again, we did have with the Cheyenne Grizzlies, but again, now this new league wants to come into town. Again, there's just issues with stadium and availability, especially with Post 6, at least with Powers Field. Athletic-wise, what's going to be your push, or what do you want, hopeful for the city of Cheyenne, again, to at least try to get these teams and have, again, those entertainment value come to Cheyenne instead of those dollars going to Laramie, going down to Colorado?
Exactly. I'm a big advocate for sports. I actually still play City League softball, so I'm on the fields, and you can't get better hands-on than that. And we go to the games, and I talked with Jason Sanchez, he's our new director of community recreation and events, about some of the things we could do with some of these new fields. We did get some athletic artificial turf in some of the junior league fields right up here. We're getting new lighting on one field, and one of those is $500,000. So it's very expensive. So we did get a grant writer hired this past year, and we've made great strides in the amount of money we've been able to leverage, especially through those land and water conservation grants. So we're going to probably continue to pursue those types of grants to enhance our athletic fields. And I know that we basically just want to break even with those types of teams, like the Stampede at the Ice and Event Center, or whether or not we can get even possibly a AAA baseball team here. That would be awesome. One of the Colorado affiliates from the Rockies, I think Casper had one for a while.
Correct.
And so we're not only competing with other Wyoming cities, but actually we're competing with this Front Range. So some of the close friends of mine who have kids that are still playing down there, we're way behind on the 8 ball as far as how well we compare to the facilities they have down there on the Front Range.
Well, again, it costs money. How do you convince your 8 other members of the city council and the mayor to divvy some more funds towards athletics? Let's keep it on that podium right there, because again, you sound like you're one that says, "Hey, I'm ready."
I am, and I think it's the convincing part really isn't the hard part. I think everybody on the city council is all about doing things that we can to increase the quality of life for the citizens of Cheyenne. Luckily this year we've had an autumn. We're out golfing still. People are still in shirt sleeves and shorts, and they're biking on the Greenway, which, I forgot how many miles of Greenway we have now. It's in the hundreds.
Especially with the expansion over by LCCC, absolutely.
Yeah. So those issues are, I think we're all on board with doing what we can to increase our community recreation and events. And I would just probably go back to events, that part of it, with what we've done with Fridays on the Plaza, with the musical acts you see coming to the Lincoln, the Civic Center. We're going to have the Commodore here in another couple of weeks. We've had some great acts. We actually went this past year to see Billy Bob Thornton. His band played at the Lincoln. And those are things that, 10 years ago, we didn't have in this city. And even with the symphony, and I think next week we're going to see dueling pianos at the Met. Things we're doing with our restaurant and lodging partners here in Cheyenne, that also here in a couple of weeks we're going to have the Taste of Cheyenne. And we're passed an ordinance where any restaurant that participates in that, you can have the open container. So can walk around downtown from restaurant to restaurant with
It was like a little bit of Vegas out there in downtown streets, at least being able to do that. And again, good with the entertainment options that is being brought to you. And again, hopefully athletics come alongside to at least give those sports nuts here in town again a chance to go watch a hockey or a baseball game as well too. Want to get into
and the gymnastics center. We're also going to get that too.
That is very correct on that one as well. I want to get into infrastructure with you, Ken, as well. Again, Ward 3, especially what we see, a lot of construction going on, improving the roads, sewers out there. Again, bridge work being done, especially across I-80. Again, I think is, again, very close to being done on that one. Infrastructure in that part of town, do you feel it's adequate to your standards? Does it need more working upon? Where do we stand in Ward 3, at least with our roads and just at least what we offer?
Yeah, within the roads, we have to work with YDOT on Lease College and US 30. So those two, that they're not capable of handling the traffic that we currently have there. So that plan, it goes out 4 to 6 years. Everything from it being US 30 being 4-lane all the way to Archer roundabout up in the area of Saddle Ridge, increasing the width of Pershing and Delrange, both from about this area east. Another infrastructure area that a lot of people don't consider infrastructure is broadband. We're looking at widening our capabilities to have, full 5G broadband across the city, and actually have that in competition with the other companies that are providing it currently.
I had a very marvelous conversation with Dennis Pino, and this goes back quite a few years. At that time, we were just going into pod 4 of our sanitation. And again, as Cheyenne has grown over the last few years, how is our landfill situation? And again, too, talking with Dennis and with his father prior to him, again, thinking of ways for recycling. They had ideas of recycling before we were shipping it off. Are we close to that situation of taking care of our own recyclables, and is our landfill situation in good shape?
Yeah, we're in good shape as far as the landfill goes, but it's where everybody can contribute. And if we recycle correctly, your recycle bin should have more stuff in it than your trash bin. And I think that part of it's going to be education. It kind of does bug me a little bit when I go by and I see things that are recyclable in the trash. So we're not going to go through and pick that out, but it depends on every resident of the city that has a blue bin to have the knowledge and have the experience about what is recyclable. And a lot of people don't realize we actually included glass in that, but there's a lot of different kinds of glass too. So, but your basic glass, yeah, you can put that in your recycle bin now, and all of that saves on the landfill. And we can increase our landfills by 50 years by just recycling properly. So I think it really just comes down to education. We've talked with our public works director about putting out stickers on the blue bins that show what exactly they can and can't recycle. But the pushback on that was it changes so often, so that by the time we come out with a sticker, something else might not be recyclable and something else might be. So we thought about putting it in water bills, but I don't even get a water bill anymore. It's automatically
paying it online. Well, let me ask you this, Ken. Speaking of the BOPU, Board of Public Utilities, during times such as these, and we can play the political game. One side can say this and one side can say that, but did the BOPU pick the right time to increase fees? I mean, we're looking at, what, a 5% increase here coming up at the first of the year, when everything else, going to the store, buying a gallon of gasoline, was that the right time? And again, I used to have many discussions with former BOPU director Tim Wilson, gosh, every year you're hitting us up with an increase. I understand fees and this, that, and the other thing, but 5%, is this the right time to drop that on the citizens?
It's never the right time, but we're trying to play catch up, and I think probably what happened in the days of Mr. Wilson and the councils back then were there was a lot of resistance to increase fees, and then we got put in a position now where we're trying to make our fee schedules with everything to be across the board pays for the service that you receive. So we're not making money there. So we just want people to pay for the actual costs of the service they receive. And it's a little bit of catch up, but we're actually trying to phase that in as well. So it's not a one-time hit. And you hate doing it. I know there were a lot of people that were anti-tax at the legislature, but look at the position that they got themselves into by having that mindset. So you run for office and you get elected, and it's not just to make the easy decisions. You're going to have to make the hard ones. And, that's a hard decision to make, but it's the right decision.
Ken, as you are up for re-election again, sir, 4 years as city council member, again, Ward 3, looking to at least repeat for another 4 years here in town. I guess plain and simple, if you are re-elected back as a representative of Ward 3, what's kind of the vision, the future for you, or what projects, plans, what do you have in mind to better, again, Ward 3?
Well, the main decision that, came across my mind when I was deciding whether or not to run for re-election happened when I retired from the railroad, which is about the beginning of May, after a 44-year career working for Union Pacific. And my first 3 years on council, it was really like burning the candle at both ends and on top and on the bottom. I was going. I don't even know when I slept, but I'm catching up on it now. But I didn't want to go from that, type of activity where I was just going and going to dead stop. And my experience, not with just the legislature, but this past 4 years with the city council and my experience on the railroad, kind of dovetailed into two of the big projects we're working on. We set in goal session, the Reed Avenue corridor. We're dealing with the Burlington Northern Railroad there, and then the 15th Street Railroad experience. So I just thought that I'd be a valuable asset to the city and the city council and the mayor's office with my experience, not with just the railroad, but everything I've been doing the past 20 years, that these are going to be complicated projects. And I think they would actually add a lot of vibrancy to things that we don't have in Cheyenne right now. And the master plan for both of them are really, really cool. We had planned when the architects give us about a 40-page layout of that 15th Street Railroad experience.
Ken, I want to thank you very much for joining us here today on 1480 KRAE Reports, so we can review. And again, too, we encourage everybody who has not voted to get out and do so coming up next Tuesday. Again, many polling areas for you to get out there and cast your ballot. There's no excuse for you not to go out and cast your ballot. You have an opponent running in Ward 3. The top two finishers during the primaries will face off here coming up on Tuesday. Are there striking differences in philosophy between you and your opponent, or I'm venturing to say that you guys have met in a couple of situations? I guess basically your plank, your campaign speech to tell us why you should be reelected for 4 more years.
Well, I think it just comes down to experience. The one thing that I thought when I first ran for city council was that it would be easier than the legislature, and that was a misnomer. It's actually harder. And we meet multiple times a week. Legislature, you could get 3 months off and not have a meeting, not do anything. And we're even busier now than we were when I first got on. I know Joe Shogren. He's a very nice guy. He's been active in a lot of the community events. I know he helped with the Christmas parade when my daughter was on the Chamber of Commerce. And So I'm not real sure what he means on his sign when he says, "Don't Colorado my Cheyenne." I don't know if he wants us to go back to dirt roads and horse and buggies, but I think that in order for us to be competitive, we, like I said earlier, when we were talking about the ball fields and entertainment, we got to compete with the Front Range. So otherwise, we probably would end up back with dirt streets and covered wagons.
All right. Well, Ken, we want to thank you very much for joining us. Best of luck to you coming up on Tuesday, November 8th. And again, get out and do your constitutional right. One person, one vote.
Very quickly as well, too, as we offer for all of our candidates coming in as well, too, as we prepare for next Tuesday's election. Ken, what's the best way for, again, city, at least Ward 3, at least, again, citizens to get in contact with you if they have any more questions, if they want, again, if they have any interest? I guess plain and simple, Ken, how can folks get a hold of you if they want to contact you?
The best way would be my email, which is esquibelforward3@gmail.com. My cell phone number is area code 307-630-6096. You can call me, leave me a voicemail. You can text me. You can call my office number. You can call my office email. That's kesquibel@cheyenncity.org. So there's about 6 different ways you can get a hold of me.
You're always available 24/7, right? You don't want to ever sleep.
Not quite like the railroad days, but
yeah. Kenny, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us here on 1480 KRAE. We will be back and we'll take a time out. This is KRAE Reports, a week in review.
If you're looking to make a difference in local health care, Cheyenne Regional Medical Center is the place for you. We're more than just a hometown hospital. We are the largest health system in Wyoming with the latest technology. We want to help you grow as a person as well as within your career in health care. Inspire great health with us at Cheyenne Regional Medical Center. To learn about our opportunities, call us at 307-633-7871 or send us an email at recruiting@crmcwy.org.
The next time you have a craving for authentic Mexican cuisine, visit Guadalajara at 1745 Del Range Boulevard. Locally owned and operated, they serve their dishes with family tried and true recipes with the freshest of ingredients, made to order. Start off your meal with their complimentary chips, salsa, and bean dip. And if you're feeling adventurous, enjoy your favorite margarita or cerveza. Guadalajara, where the spice is always nice.
Check out the huge savings this week at Town & Country Supermarket Liquors. Here are just a few of the terrific weekly specials.
It's your one-stop shop for the Super Radio buys, heard only right here. Tito's Homemade Vodka, 1.75-liter bottle, $33.99. Twisted Heart Teas, all available variety, 12-pack, 12-ounce can, $16.49. And Malibu Coconut Rum, 1.75-liter bottle, $23.49.
Town & Country Supermarket Liquors on the South Greeley Highway, Cheyenne's low-price leader.
For almost 60 years, 1480 KRAE has been Cheyenne's home for good times and great oldies. Add to that live play-by-play sports featuring high school football and basketball, along with LCCC men's and women's basketball. Now combo that with KYOY-FM and you have Cheyenne and the area's only locally owned AM and FM radio stations. But we don't stop there. We also have 2 FM translators which serve the area with programming from both KRAE and KYOY. And that equals a lot of bang for your advertising dollar. Radio yesterday and now today, along with our websites, web streams, and digital ventures makes us your one-stop shop. For more information, please call Larry Proetti at 307-637-0301.
When you are dealing with the coin shop to buy, sell, or trade your gold, silver, or other precious metals, you will be met with honesty, fairness, knowledge, and exceptional customer service. The coin shop has been serving Cheyenne since 1982 and is a respected member of our community. Call David today at 778-7196 to meet privately or visit during regular business hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. The Coin Shop, a dealer you can trust. 510 West 16th Street.
It's Lee at Absolute Flooring. Are you planning on new flooring soon but are hesitating due to the latest financial news? Let Absolute Flooring help you out. With a great selection of all types of flooring and a large array of styles and colors, plus our commitment to make your purchase the most affordable, it's time to stop in at Absolute Flooring. And with no interest financing in place, why not make your way now to 3573 East Lincoln Way and visit us at AbsoluteFlooringWIO.com. Remember, it's always your home, your floor, your store. Absolutely.
As your life changes, so do your banking needs. At Platte Valley Bank, we offer a wide range of services for your individual banking needs, as well as solutions to help your business be successful. No matter how simple or complicated your financial needs, we have the products, knowledge, and resources to help you achieve financial success. Experience the difference. You belong here.
Platte Valley Bank, member FDIC.
At the Cheyenne Regional Cancer Center, we take a caring, comprehensive approach to cancer treatment and prevention. To best serve your needs, we provide chemotherapy, radiation oncology, and infusion treatments, as well as the quality care, resources, and support you need from one warm, welcoming location that's close to home. For more about our compassionate approach to cancer care and prevention, visit CheyenneRegional.org/cancer.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 KRAE.
Otherwise, for today, Halloween, sunshine expected daytime high near 62, mostly clear tonight, a low down to 34. Sunny again tomorrow. We're looking for a daytime high near 65, and for Tuesday night, a partly cloudy night, a low down to 37.
This is 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
Also being heard on translator K266CC Cheyenne at 101.1 FM.
It's time now for something new for you. It's KRAE Reports, a week in review. Now let's check in with our program right here on 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
And good afternoon, just past the lunch hour. I'm Larry Proetti, along with Nick Proetti. A reminder, before you go to bed Saturday night, we fall back 1 hour. We return to standard time officially, 2 a.m. coming up on Sunday. We bring on our next guest as we get ready for the political season, which officially is next Tuesday. So get out and, again, can't say it enough, get out and cast your ballot. I know some of you have done the write-in or, the mail-in as well as absentee. But, again, for those of you that have not made your decision yet, hopefully we can help you with your decision here on KRAE Reports. We bring on our next political candidate. She is the Democratic representative who is running for governor of the state of Wyoming, and she is Theresa Livingston. Theresa, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and tell our KRAE listeners a little bit about yourself, your resume as you embark on this, this campaign to become the next governor of the state of Wyoming.
Thank you. I've lived in Wyoming for 28 years. I've lived in Lander, Cheyenne, and now in Orland. So I have a better feel for the state. No Democrats. Well, you want to know my bio? Let's see. I was in the military. I lived in Turkey and Spain and Germany, and before that, my dad was sent to Taiwan, so I lived there. So it brings a different perspective of how I think about government and people. And it makes it really interesting for me to have that big background. I think it's very positive for me to have that background because it helps me make decisions and see what people need. What we all need is to take care of each other, and nothing else is really that important.
Theresa, let's take a look at the current state of Wyoming right now. Obviously, you disagree with some of the things that are being currently done with the leadership here in the state of Wyoming. What are some of the things that you need to tackle right away when you get elected to office?
Well, I want women to have their reproductive rights. I think that in the Constitution, Wyoming Constitution, it says that we're supposed to have health care rights, so we should hold that true. I believe that the Medicaid expansion would be good for our state. It'll help people out. It will also help out hospitals because we've had a couple hospitals close their labor and delivery in Rollins and Kemmer. So I think that this having Medicaid expansion would help the hospitals to keep the services they need. We need way more mental health care. I'd like to see us listen to the younger people more. They're going to be our leaders someday. I worked with them when I worked at the Bureau of Land Management, and they were amazing. Their thought process is so cool, and they think so fast, and I think it's important that we include them in stuff. I'd like to see project-based education, which is vocational and technical programs, and I'm on the Governor's School Facility Board, And I'm seeing more of this happening in our high schools here, and I think that's wonderful to give our kids a chance to have really good jobs and not necessarily have to go to college.
Theresa, want to get your thoughts on, and something that's been a hotbed issue here in the state of Wyoming is our natural resources, whether it is coal, whether it is natural gas, oil, again, for the various refineries as well throughout the state. What is your plan of action if you are elected to office, again, representing as the governor here of the state of Wyoming? What do you want to do, or what are the plans under your administration with our natural resources here in the state of Wyoming?
We're going to need oil and gas for quite a while. Coal, I'm not sure about, but I think that we'll find great uses for coal, and people will be, the companies will be able to fix these coal plants so that they're up to specifications so that they can still produce electricity. We can also add, the wind energy and the solar power. And I just read that they're talking about having more nuclear power plants, which I know people are afraid of, but the ones they build now are all the same. And they use the cooling rods, they cool them down and use them again, and there's virtually nothing left when they get done. So for me, there's always a better way, but we can still include all that stuff. We just need to make sure that we're keeping our air and things healthy so that Wyoming can stay healthy too.
Theresa, as you have had the opportunity to cruise through the state, and again, running for political office is a costly venture. So again, you have put on a lot of miles. But what are the citizens of the state of Wyoming? And again, you mentioned the younger people. What are the people talking issues with you about? Tell us a little bit things that you need to take into consideration when you get that opportunity to take the governorship here of Wyoming.
Some of the questions are kind of funny. People want to know why we still elect sheriffs. So that's something that maybe we should have more groups to talk about. Making the county elections people, not the people, but the people running, make them nonpartisan. Then people won't have to switch parties on the ballot. I want people just to talk more all the time and communicate more and see what they really need. Most people want Medicaid expansion. They want more workers' rights in this state. They want to be safe, and this is a pretty safe state. You don't hear about all the stuff that's like happening other places, which is good. I think we could be amazing if we just think differently and try to expand on things and keep going. Just keep going.
Theresa, another topic that has been a hotbed of issue, and again, something that Governor Gordon has been very vocal about, again, trying to at least try to avoid that pushback, or at least federal government from kind of entering state borders, and that is regarding gun rights. And again, also too, has been a hotbed issue as well too on the legislative side. Again, trying to prevent, again, unconstitutional, at least in their eyes, again, folks at least on the federal side to come on and basically take our guns away. What is your thoughts on gun rights, or at least gun protections? Again, that Second Amendment, especially for our Wyoming citizens across from every state border, or at least throughout the entire state of Wyoming.
I understand. I'm not into guns. I don't hunt or anything like that, but that's not that I don't believe in them, because I have gone to the Wyoming Fish and Game Conference they had, and I was teaching kids how to use shotguns. It was really cool. Lots of gun safety. I don't think the federal government is trying to take our guns away. I always feel like that's more rumors. People just, somebody says something and they're going to take our guns away. Maybe your automatic guns, but I don't even see that happening. I think that we need to talk more about guns and make sure that our schools are safe. Luckily, we haven't had any big shootings here, so people probably know more about guns, but I'm not going to, want to take your gun rights away or anything like that. For me, it's not about what I believe, it's about what is best for the people. And I try to not always put my feelings in there. Some things I'm adamant about, but a lot of things I just want to do what's best for the state of Wyoming.
Theresa, if elected, And judging by the numbers I'm looking at right now, you would probably be faced with a Republican Senate and a Republican House, as it has been for the last few years. Tell us a little bit, and again, and I think Wyoming is a little different than the rest of the country, but tell us a little bit how working across the aisles, you're going to, because again, you're going to have to, be at the Senate and the House is beckoning call. But tell us a little bit how working across the aisles is going to work for you.
Well, I usually share this story. So Golda Meir was the prime minister of Israel. And so all the countries around her were always fighting, and they never talked to each other. So she invited them into her kitchen and sat them down and got countries like Egypt and I'm trying to think, Iran, Iraq, different countries around there to all talk to each other, which I think is great. So I would do things like that, have a barbecue at the governor's house and get people to talk to each other more. I think that that's our biggest connect, is that we don't get together and really hash things out and find out what's best. You got to listen to both sides. And I know that's a huge hurdle here because it is such a Republican state. And I believe you should stand up for your values, whatever they are. But I think we need to do a lot more talking and understanding and maybe even education for some of the people so that they'll understand why women need their reproductive rights or why we need Medicare expansion. But I'm hoping to get a lot of people just to talk to each other way more than they're doing now, because there's a lot of infighting even in the Republican Party.
As we get closer to Election Day, and again, hopefully those that did absentee or mail-in ballots have done that. And again, we encourage everybody to go to the polls coming up on Tuesday. Tell us a little bit about the striking difference between you and Governor Gordon, which said, hey, I need to run for this position.
Well, I really like Governor Gordon. There's a few things that he has done that I wouldn't have done, but you know what? That's why you have different people doing different things. I ran for this office to have a Democrat to vote for and to make people think and to get people out to vote. That's my biggest question. I don't say vote for me. I say please go vote, because only like half the people in Wyoming that are eligible to vote. And the young people don't vote as much as they should. So this is really more about helping to educate people on different things or just have them listen and to get people to vote is why I ran.
Theresa, is there any concern about the upcoming general election coming up again November 8th, next Tuesday? Again, a lot of folks here in the state kind of saw the primary as the main election for a lot of offices across the state, including with the battle between Liz Cheney and Aaron Hageman. Is there worry, especially for you and your at least party right now, that there might be voter apathy, that the general will already happen in August, I don't really need to go back out because my candidate already advanced on? Is there worry that, again, that voter turnout is going to have a drastic decline than what we saw a few months ago?
I worry about that too. I worry about the fact that we release results. This isn't a presidential election, but especially when there's a presidential election, that we release results before polls are have closed everywhere and we need to wait. I know people are anxious to know. But yeah, I worry about that. I worry about just people voting. I've lived in countries where certain groups of people weren't allowed to vote for higher offices, and that made me more aware of how important it was to vote. So yeah, I worry about it, but mostly I want more Democrats to run for office. I want people to know that we're not little who's. We are here. We're here, and we want to represent you. And we'd like to be part of the process. I think it would be good to have more of a balance of, ideas in the legislature when they're voting on stuff.
Well, Theresa, again, we appreciate you joining us here today on KRAE Reports. Again, giving your side, again, as you battle Governor Gordon and, again, trying to get that governorship here in the state of Wyoming. Again, we wish the best of luck to you, again, in the upcoming general election. final thing for me to you, Theresa, as we do with all our candidates that come on and KRAE Reports, we want to give you an opportunity to, again, speak out to our at least listening audience and viewing audience as well, too. What's the best way for folks out there to get more information about you, whether it is websites, social media, and also to a way to contact you if folks have any questions or want to help out your campaign? What's the best way for folks to find out about Theresa Livingston?
My webpage is Livingston, 4, Wyoming @gmail.com. That's my email address. My web is the same. It's Livingston, 4, Wyoming.com. And either one of those will work. But mostly, like I'm saying, I want people to go vote. It's really important that you vote. Always.
Well, Theresa, thank you so much on behalf of Nick Proati and myself, Larry Proati. We want to thank you for giving us a few minutes of your time. We wish you all the best, and as we've been stating here too, we want to make sure everybody gets out and, again, uses their constitutional right, one person, one vote. Thank you so much for joining us, and the best of luck to you.
Thank you very much. I am honored to be on your show.
Theresa Livingston, Democratic candidate for governor for the state of Wyoming, as we are getting closer and closer. And again, Nick, before we go to the break, and we want to thank Theresa for joining us, and we do have another political candidate that will be joining us here coming up in just a few moments. But, you know, I even noticed it here on our radio airwaves where we were, you know, during the primary, had political candidates putting their messages on the air. It's been awfully quiet here during the month of October, and here we are leading into the first week of November. I'm sure some ads were aired elsewhere, but on our side of the town,
I haven't heard or seen a whole lot outside of, again, the.
But it's been very quiet.
But again, outside of the posters or, again, those at least little signs that you see in folks' yards around town, again, there hasn't been much, especially because, again, I think that I asked Theresa the question, and I think the answer to it is plain and simple that, again, a lot of folks saw the primary as that general election, that, again, voter turnout is definitely going to drastically decline. And folks, at least, again, folks especially that are on the independent side or, again, running on the Democratic side for various positions of power here in the state of Wyoming, whether it's governor, state superintendent, maybe even possibly, again, the Laramie County Sheriff, as we see that at least battle happening out here. I think the reality is going to be is that these folks that, again, needed those extra numbers to help out are not going to get it just due to the fact that those folks are going to sit idly by at home and go, well, fate's already been determined, that candidate's moved on, and it is what it is. But, again, does it hurt on the other side as well, too, for the Republican candidates that we kind of push forward automatically here in the state? Again, do folks on the R side don't show up as well, too, because, oh, okay, Harrod Hageman already moved on. Chuck Gray already moved on. I don't need to go out because there's no worry that.
But again, they haven't won. I know they're handing them the pinball crown, but they have not won. And, again, those that did step over lines during the primary, which, again, you know me, I'm very against that.
Yeah.
But those will go back, and, you know, they have, again, when you get a ballot, it's going to say D or R on it, or I.
Yeah.
And again, too, does it help one party or the other? I don't know. I think
we'll see.
The wave across the country right now is to unseat the current political factions that are running the country.
Will any surprises happen in any election here in this state?
Don't think
especially on the local side, probably not. I don't anticipate it. Again, I think the only thing that's going to be a true reality is that number, at least voter turnout, will definitely have a drastic decline compared to, again, the primary. Very quickly want to go back, again, as we at least had the chance to talk on the Democratic side, again, running for governor, again, Theresa Livingston. Appreciate her calling in all the way from Worland today to at least give us her stance and her opinions on things, and, again, for her run for governorship. Again, got to respect a lot what she said there. Again, we're saying, hey, it's not going to be my feelings. It's going to be what's best for the citizens across the entire state. And you know, again, got to respect political candidates, again, whether it's any side of the aisle, that come up and say, hey, it's not about me, it's about you and what's best for all of you. So, again, respect that comment, at least by Theresa, and see if, again, her background, and see if there are folks that, again, we saw, especially during the pandemic, a lot of folks were upset, or at least were not too happy of how Governor Gordon handled the pandemic, whether it was, again, shutting down businesses for, again, that kind of select period of time, keeping us wide open. We'll see, again, if there are kind of those hidden voters that are against Governor Gordon that might go and shift over to one Theresa Livingston, who, again, does have a respectable background.
Well, and here's the second part of that equation, Nick. Who is Theresa Livingston? I mean, she's running a shoestring budget. Hasn't been around much. I mean, how many Livingston signs do you see in the city of Cheyenne?
I don't know.
Probably
less than
10.
That's what you count on your hands. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, too, even though she's hoping for one particular electorate to come out and support her, that's fine and well. But again, who is Theresa Livingston? That's why we asked her. Go ahead and give us the resume. And again,
also too,
I didn't know who she was until we talked to her this morning.
Yeah, so that's kind of the issue right now. And again, granted, here on KRAE Reports, we'll give everyone again an opportunity. I've reached out to every candidate from the city council side to again all the way up to at least the governor. Again, whoever wanted to come on our platform has had that opportunity. So it is what it is. But again, especially in this governor's race, and we're seeing it with Secretary of State. We're seeing it on the congressional side as well, too, again, with Harriet Hageman, which, again, we will, at least next week, talk with her opponent, Lynette Graybull, as well, too. Again, on the Democratic side, we will talk with her. We're starting to see a push for write-ins right now. Again, that's kind of been the heavy theme here in the state of Wyoming. That's kind of made things a little bit interesting. Again, we had to at least talk off air with Megan Degenfelder, again, who is residing right now currently in Laramie. I was in Laramie this past weekend. You saw a bunch of, and again, we had the entity on air a couple months ago, Brett Bean. He's pushing right now for, again, heavy write-in vote on the governor's side to, again, steal away potentially from Gordon or, again, from Livingston, whoever it may be. We're seeing it on the Secretary of State side again. These write-in candidates, or at least people trying to get those names.
And that's not going to draw probably less than 10%. So, again, that's a non-factor to me. So if you're not happy with Chuck Gray.
But again,
let me finish.
If you're the Theresa Livingstons of the world, again, you look at what Brett Bean's trying to do right now. Again, you look at, hey, again, those are would-be votes.
And again, too, those that supported him have already moved on. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They've already moved on.
Yeah.
Most of them. So, to me, that's a sour grapes type of situation. You lost. Move on. Either throw your support behind the governor or just, step aside.
But again, it's been a big issue right now, and again, it's in some of our key positions right now that are up for grabs in this state. Again, governor, secretary of state, even in the congressional position right now. That again, this push for write-ins, where again we were down to our final 2 or 3. Again, whether it's an independent candidate as well too. We're now seeing this interesting and heavy push of, well, we don't like any of them. Here's a write-in option, or again, let's not vote it for any of them. And it's a little sour grapes. It's kind of pathetic of these kind of movements.
I think so. And again, you lost. Deal with it. Come back in 4 more years and run against the governor, whoever the governor is. If it's Gordon, he will not be reelected because he could only serve 2 terms as governor. So run again 4 years from now. But again, wanting to be the write-in candidate, to me, that's just sour grapes. And you're not going to divide the party. What you're going to do, people are not going to forget this if you ever run for political office again. All right, we are going to take a time out. Our last guest will be joining us here as we'll talk Cheyenne City Council once again from Ward 2. We'll be back after these words. You are listening to KRAE Reports, a week in review.
1480 KRAE is your home for live play-by-play coverage of high school basketball and football. To hear all the play-by-play calls of East, Central, and South football and basketball. You'll hear the conference action along with the postseason, and during the basketball season, 1480 KRAE features both boys and girls games. Catch all the exciting calls on AM 1480 KRAE, also streaming the games worldwide on the web at 1480KRAE.com.
Whatever the adventure, the new 2022 Kia Sorento can help you get there. I'm AJ Miller for Kia of Cheyenne. Let us show you the impressive value of a new Kia. The 2022 Kia Sorento will provide all-weather performance with available all-wheel drive, a turbo engine, ample seating and cargo space, and one of the best warranties in the business. Come into Kia of Cheyenne, call 775-0123 or go to kiaofcheyenne.com and we'll make it easy.
Your local hometown bank, First Year Bank, invites you to come celebrate the first anniversary of their downtown branch at 18th and KRAE. And during the anniversary celebration, come to either branch at 1508 Stillwater Avenue or downtown and enjoy some coffee and cookies. First Year Bank is still offering the best CD rates around on a wide variety of CD products. So talk with Caitlin, Amy, and Lavana today. And for all your commercial lending needs, let Tim, Tad, Stacy, and Spencer hook you up to suit your business needs. First Year Bank, 1508 Stillwater Avenue, and now celebrating their second branch's one-year anniversary at 18th and KRAE. We want to be your bank. Member FDIC. MHP is a certified public accounting and consulting firm located in Bow, Cheyenne, and Fort Collins, offering accounting, tax, and consulting services to businesses, not-for-profit, government, and individual clients. MHP takes pride in their commitment to providing close, personal attention to their clients. They also continue to invest time and resources in continuing education, state-of-the-art computer technology, and valuing their relationships with you. MHP is a proud supporter of local and UW athletics. MHP, 314 West 18th Street, or call 634-2151.
The West, the way you want it, Terry Bison Ranch.
You're invited to enjoy a holiday feast this Thanksgiving Day at the Senator Steakhouse at the Terry Bison Ranch. The menu from the hot entree station features herb roasted turkey, lemon rosemary grilled chicken, bison short ribs and barbecue sauce, and the fixings including mashed potatoes, gravy, along with green bean casserole. But wait, there's more. Stop by the many stations and fill up, including the breakfast station, serving delicious omelets and other goodies. The hand-carved station with roasted turkey, prime rib with au jus, and horseradish. Also, there's other stations featuring salads, shrimp and salmon, sweet and assorted breads and rolls, and most importantly, save room for their dessert station with pies, cakes, and cheesecakes. Remember, you can also enjoy $10 bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. Seating times are at 10:30, 12:30, 2:30, and 4:30 p.m. Call and reserve your spot today at 307-634-4171. It's $43.99 for adults, kids 5 through 12, $21.99, kids under 5 eat free. And there's a 10% discount for seniors and military. It's a remarkable Thanksgiving buffet this Thanksgiving Day at the Senator Steakhouse at the Terry Bison Ranch. Take exit 2 to the Terry Ranch Road.
Capital Lumber is number one in Cheyenne. Are you listening? We're all the lumber store you'll ever need. For electrical, plumbing, paint, and tools, lumber and hardware, we're for you. We're out to earn your business, yes indeed. Capital Lumber is number one today. Are you listening? Capital Lumber's at your service all the way.
Remember, for all your lumber and hardware needs, stop at the family-owned and operated Capital Lumber Company at 1222 Dunn Avenue in Cheyenne.
Wisdom, expertise, compassion, qualities that are the foundation of Cheyenne Urological. With their experienced doctors and their highly trained staff providing top quality treatment for prostate cancer, urinary tract infections, kidney stones, impotence, and incontinence, you can trust Cheyenne Urological to give you the highest quality urinary care. Now offering the latest in robotic surgery, call Cheyenne Urological at 635-4131. That's 635-4131.
This Halloween 2022 on Monday, October 31st, let's make happy memories, not tragic nightmares. The only thing scarier than zombies and witches loose on the streets is an impaired driver. This year, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is teaming up with local officials to help spread the message that buzz driving is drunk driving. Even one alcoholic beverage could be one too many for some drivers. So if you plan to drive, please refrain from alcohol. If you do plan to enjoy some witch's brew, be sure to arrange a sober ride home in advance. Stay safe on Halloween night and every night. Paid for by Federal Highway Safety Funds.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 KRAE.
Otherwise, for today, Halloween, sunshine. Expected daytime high near 62. Mostly clear tonight, a low down to 34. Sunny again tomorrow. We're looking for a daytime high near 65. And for Tuesday night, a partly cloudy night, a low down to 37.
We welcome you back for our final segment of KRAE Reports that we can review. We get a chance now to talk to Lynn Huylar, who is the candidate for Cheyenne City Council Ward 2. And Lynn, first, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit. Again, we're Ward 3, both my son and myself. Tell us a bit about Ward 2, the area it encompasses. And again, Ward 2, pretty doggone big.
It is. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me here and allowing me to speak. Yes, Ward 2 is pretty big. So it does encompass most of the north end of Cheyenne. So it's Western Hills, it's Indian Hills, it's Buffalo Ridge, and then it's the area above King Supers. So it is a pretty big area, and it's diverse, but I am running and I want to be the representative for that ward.
I'm glad that you mentioned to north because years ago the big push was north. Now it's east. And it's almost like, I don't want to use the word we're running out of land, but let's take a look at your ward. Is there any more room for growth?
No, you're spot on. You're right. It used to be north was where we were growing, and it's not anymore. A lot of the north area is landlocked. There is some pockets, county pockets that maybe could develop, but right now there's just not a lot of growth in the north area. So yes, it is east, it is south.
And you mentioned county pockets. Again, the big hotbed, Nick mentioned this with our Ward 3 candidate that was in. Again, annexation. Again, are you a fan of I hate to use the word fan, but are you in favor of annexation or talking to those county residents? Maybe I'll back off and I respect their concerns.
So yes, I am. How do I want to say it? I don't want to say I'm on both sides, but I am for purposeful annexation. And what I mean by purposeful is there are some areas that maybe we need to incorporate into the city of Cheyenne. They have just we've grown around them. They're just almost part of us anyway, and it gets really confusing who responds, law enforcement, fire department, and so we don't want a lot of that confusion. So I am for purposeful annexation, but what I mean by that is there has to be a lot of dialogue, there has to be a lot of community involvement and meetings and sitting at the table together, and I am not for pushing requirements and regulations on those individuals either and saying, now you must spend all of these dollars to be incorporated into us to have sewer and gutter and curb and all of those to be part of us. That's not fair to them either. They built there, they put their house is what it is valued, and I'm just not for putting a lot of costs on them. So we need to come up with solutions. If that's I don't know what those solutions are right now, but we need to have dialogues, and so that would be my take on annexation.
I remember my days of going to city council meetings and various forums. Ward 2 citizens are up to the podium most of the time. They come out in full force, whether it's good, bad, indifferent. And again, I'm not saying Ward 1 and Ward 3 folks don't speak their mind, but Ward 2 is very vocal about projects that concern them, whether, the point or, we go on and on about different projects that happen. Talk about these type of forums. Do people actually come to them? Do citizens actually care, or is it just you and Mark Rennie just talking about stuff?
Right. So I think we need to have more dialogues. One thing that I've always been frustrated with Ward 2 is that I don't really feel like they reach out to us as constituents, as residents that they represent. I don't know that I feel like I really have a voice through them. So I really want to give that back to Ward 2. I want to be able to have community forums. I want to have an open page on Facebook or some other social media sites where people can come, they can comment, they can ask me questions. I will get them answers. I will listen to them, which I think right now is sometimes what I feel is missing. I know we're represented, but I don't feel like maybe we're included in that representation.
What's the biggest issue that, again, as you talk around Ward 2 with, again, those citizens within that boundary, what's the issue for them, at least topic right now? Is it expansion, getting new businesses out there? What's the main concern right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do think a lot of times people are telling me safety. Safety is a big concern. There is not uptick in some crimes. In my neighborhood and in other neighborhoods, we had a rash of vandalisms of cars. We had a rash of, I know that this went through the city as well, bullet hole, BB guns being shot through windows, those kinds of things. So we are seeing more crime, and that concerns residents. Residents want to feel safe in their home. They want to feel like their property is safe, that they are safe. And so safety is a big one for me, and I do hear that a lot of times. I hear housing is a big issue, and maybe not so much on the north side, but it is on the north side because there are people that want to live on the north side as well, and there's not a lot of housing on the north side as well. We have to talk about, as a city, what are we going to do? We are landlocked. We don't have a lot of land to grow in the city proper, so we need to look at growing up. We need to be more housing that is multi-level and those kinds of things. We have a great property over by off of Pershing and Ridge, I believe it is, and they built up. And that's kind of where we're going to need to go. We're going to need to look creatively. And in the downtown areas, there are places that we can revitalize and we can make into more housing kinds of things and work with developers. So we need to look creatively at housing. So those are kind of the biggest issues. I am very much pro small business, absolutely pro small business. One of my biggest concerns and pet peeves right now is I drive by that little airport, our old airport, and I loved the airport. I used to live on the avenues, and my kids would go up there and get pops, and we would go up there and watch the planes take off. And that piece of property is sitting vacant. That property has so much rich history, and it's an eyesore right now. We got to do something to change that. We got to revitalize that. We got to look at, if that's $6 the next go around, we need to look at maybe getting some private funding to revitalize that. We need to get restaurants back in there. We need to get stores in there. We need to make that old airport alive again and looking beautiful.
For you, Lynn, again, there are a few vacant lots. And again, we talked with Ken Esquibel, especially in Ward 3. There are a lot of vacant lots that, again, are up for sale. And again, looking to at least commercialize it or either make it residential. In Ward 2, again, if you are elected to, again, member of the city council, what would be more your first concern with those vacant lots in Ward 2? Is it addressing housing, getting new businesses, small businesses within that community? Again, what would be first and foremost?
The other frustration that I hear a lot of people is many more coffee shops and banks can we develop and grow. People are tired of coffee shops and banks. So I think we need to look purposefully what can go there. What does that little area need? What is lacking? So it's not in my area, but if you look on more the downtown area, they have no grocery store down there. They have no amenities for people who maybe need to walk and get things. So I think, and I'll represent Ward 2, but I think we need to have a lens of looking at the city as a whole, and we need to look at what is best for the city, and we need to be looking for those lots. What is best for that? Because I'm not for another coffee shop or another bank to go into those places, but I am for purposeful things that will help the residents of the city of Cheyenne and that area.
I want to get your thoughts on it. Again, we talk about vacant lots, and again, a big chunk of land within kind of city limits is that kind of at least Story Boulevard, again, just north, at least from Del Range here, again, from Walmart all the way to the mall. Again, we have that wide open land, which again, we are seeing some expansion there, especially on kind of the western side of that land. But is that something you'd like to look into, again, getting annexed into the city? And what would be in your mind as the best plan for all of that land to, again, kind of develop and make Cheyenne a better place?
That's a beautiful piece of land. And there are people on camps. There are some people that say, I love it as just open land. It's been open land for all of my life, and I want to keep it open land. And I love seeing the cows that are on there in the summer, right? But I think there'll come a period of time where that land will need to be purposeful. I can see multiple things. Some housing there. There's already housing there off of Converse and moreover by the Walmart. There's some more housing that's developing, but I think we can use it for more businesses. I love the thought of bringing in some businesses. I get sad when people talk about every weekend they go to Colorado to do their shopping. So we need to be able to keep our dollars here. We need to keep our dollars local so that we get the revenue from those dollars. So I think we need to look at attracting some businesses that would want to come in into that. So I think it could be multi-purposes. I think there could be lots of uses for that piece of land.
Also, too, speaking of money going outside of the city borders, and it's something more on the athletic side, again, whether it's going to Laramie, Nebraska, down to Colorado for, again, a lot of athletic events. Want to get your take on, again, the Ice and Event Center used to be the home of the Cheyenne Stampede, no longer. We do have collegiate baseball leagues that are wanting to get into town. We know that, again, arena football wants to come to Cheyenne as well, too. Again, there's a lot of inquiries because, again, we are prime real estate here in the Front Range. What is your take on, again, bringing and kind of upping our athletic programs here in Cheyenne?
Oh, I am so in a support. Now, I'm going to say something that may be popular or may not be popular, but Cheyenne kind of has this kind of feeling of we don't want to grow. And we have to grow. We do have to grow. We are a jewel of Wyoming, and we need to grow. I can remember when the Civic Center came in and the voters voted for the Civic Center. I don't know if you remember, but it was much bigger than it was supposed to be. And then it just gets pared down and pared down and pared down. We could have had a beautiful big venue, and we could have attracted a lot more concerts, a lot more events, those kinds of things. So I am for bringing those kinds of things in. I'm not a kind of a person that says no growth. I'm also for a rec center. We need to provide opportunities for our youth. We need to have things for our youth. Our youth are crying for things to do. So I'm for, like the Children's Museum. I am for baseball and all kinds of other venues coming in, and I would support and I would do what I could to try to help bring those in. I think it'd be really exciting to have a team.
I'm surprised Nick didn't go any further on this, but talking about some of the empty, vacant buildings. And again, too, I think back to when we put the roundabout in over at Converse and Pershing and 19th. And again, we took some property from the old Hollywood Video back in the day, and there was lawyers involved and everything else. But again, I'm thinking of a Church's Chicken that basically shut down right around the pandemic. Again, I don't know who owns the property, if the property is owned, but are you a person that's, again, all we're seeing is weeds grow around it, no activity. Are you one that believes in eminent domain for the city to take properties over if nobody is caring for them?
Yeah, another good question. Yes, that's a tricky balance because I am for individual rights. I am for individual rights. But when you've exhausted all of your possibilities, when you've worked for years and years and years, there does come a point in time where we have to say we got to do something better. So there's that balance there. So no, I'm not for government swooping in and taking over things, but I am for we need to work with that person at all levels and all costs. You make a good point. Church's Chicken. What a sad thing. And I don't see a for sale sign there. I don't know who owns it, but maybe we could work with whoever does own it and say, let's talk about how could we help? How could we help advertise that it's for sale? How could we help find a buyer for that? Whatever it may be. Because again, that is something that is, again, it's sitting vacant and it's very, very sad.
Speaking of at least infrastructure, again, regarding kind of empty buildings, and again, we know situations going on downtown, but again, more focusing on the north side. Again, we see improvements on the roads, sewers. Again, we know, again, adding internet lines, and again, multiple providers. Again, we see it on the east side, plenty as of right now, again, as we see that side of town growing. But on the north side, from what you've seen, again, talk with those residents, infrastructure, are we pretty much set in stone with our roads, bridges, and all that, or are there things to improve upon up north?
I think, from my perspective, I think we're doing pretty good with that, roads and bridges and infrastructure. What I get frustrated with is when we start an infrastructure process and it takes a really, really long time and people get really frustrated. We've got one going on downtown right now that is really, really frustrating. So I am for how do we maximize these infrastructure and get them done quickly? I don't think we should be spending 6 months blocking off streets, blocking off roads, making traffic hazards for people. So we need to work more speedily and purposefully on what we're doing. So I am for infrastructure. We need to do that. But I don't know. Sometimes I look at things and I'm like, well, that's really silly. Why did they have to do that? Why did we need new, I don't know, bump outs on the on the sidewalks downtown? I don't know, but I will do my research and I will find out why we need those kinds of things. I'm a research kind of a person. If I have a question, I'm gonna go do my research. But I'm gonna ask questions too. Why do we need to spend money on that? Is the bump out not working? And why do we need to spend excess money maybe where we could spend it somewhere else?
You know, your candidate, your opponent for Ward 2, if I'm not mistaken, 6th or 7th term that he is running for city council out of Ward 2, obviously has been popular, has been reelected. So it tells me that Ward 2 has been somewhat satisfied with the job he's doing. But you know, you sit there and you go, 6th or 7th term. Wow, it's kind of a career politician, because we're hearing that across the country right now, that people are going, wow, they've been there forever. It's time for them to move on. What different perspective do you bring in? And first, I can hear the energy in your voice, the excitement that, hey, I'd like to bring this type of enthusiasm to the city council. So tell us a little bit your reasoning that, hey, it's time to make a change.
So first of all, elected office is a privilege, not a right, and it is giving back to your community, and that's what I love to do. I love to give back to my community. That's why I serve. I was also on Laramie County School District Board, #1 board for 2 terms, and I loved that as well, because I was representing and I gave back. So my opponent is a great person. He's served honorably, but we need to let other people have a chance to have a voice in our government. Being an elected city council person is a way to have a voice. It is a way to represent. It is a way to represent your constituents. And I want to represent. I want to listen. I want to hear. I want to advocate what they want for the city, and I want to hear them and vote that way. I'm not a kind of a person that will just vote how I want to vote. I want to learn what other people want for a particular issue or a scenario.
When you're knocking on the doors at Ward 2, and again, quite the area that you got to cover here in the city of Cheyenne, what are the constituents saying to you? Because again, you're working for the people. So what are they saying to you about our current city council, or what you could add to the city council? Again, there are 9 members, 3 from each ward, and a mayor. So there's 10 votes almost on the city council. Your vote from your constituents, what are they saying? Hey, Lynn, I'd like for you to really push this through.
They want to be heard. They want to feel like they are part of their government. They want to be heard. They want to have a voice in what they're doing. And that's what I'm hearing, that they're not feeling like that they have. You know, there's issues. Everybody kind of has their own little issues. I do think that people say, well, there's not a lot going on with city council right now. It's not a hot button. School board is the hot button right now. There's a lot of controversy. There's a lot of issues that are going on. And so what is happening with with city council, it's kind of laying low, but there's a lot of things we could be working on. You know, we have the Belvoir Ranch. That is a beautiful piece of property that is sitting kind of vacant again. There's lots of controversy on that. We bought it for a reason, for water rights, to do some things with water. That didn't work out. Now we are leasing it to cattle grazing, and we're getting some revenue off of that, but I think we're missing a lot of revenue. A lot of people are saying, sell it. That's what a lot of people tell me, is sell the darn thing. Let's get our money back and let's move on for that. So those are kinds of things. Traffic is another thing people are really talking to me about. People are running red lights like you can't believe. So they talk to me about, is it time for red light cameras? You know, I don't know but these are things that people are telling me. But I just think people are telling me right now, they'd like to have some change. They'd like to have a new voice for Ward 2, and that's what I would like to do, is be the voice for Ward 2.
Lynn, I'm glad you brought up at least traffic, and something that, again, kind of sits on that borderline between Ward 1 and Ward 2. Again, something that happens that last full week of July is Cheyenne Frontier Days, and again, it's something that we've talked with CEO Tom Hersig about. And again, they're aware that, again, parking is a massive issue, and again, traffic up there is a dilemma during those days of Cheyenne Frontier Days. What would be, at least in your mind, kind of the best plan of action, again, as we talk about being landlocked and not a whole lot of opportunity, especially for a parking lot or, you know, something like that for CFD to expand? But again, we talk about those avenues. Those residents they don't like that week in July. How do we kind of alleviate some of that traffic from that area for those residents?
Well, we do a good job with the park and ride. I think the park and ride has really grown and it is doing good. Now I will differ with you just a little bit. Some of the residents up there really like it because they can charge for parking, and people are getting very creative with charging for parking on their lawns and that. I think it's those residents that aren't doing that kind of a thing that get really, really frustrated. I think we need to look at, I love the rickshaws that are coming out. I love innovative ideas, and I would like to hear innovative ideas that the city might have. We might have people out in our community that have greater ideas than all of us. And so I think it's a great thing that I would put it on my Facebook page. I would put it out to my constituent. I would say, what do you think we can do to alleviate parking issues during Cheyenne Frontier Days?
I remember having the conversation with our candidate that's running from Ward 3 currently on the city council. I'm going to throw basically kind of the same question out at you as well. Our landfill, and again, as I remember talking with Dennis Pino a few years back, it was working on Pod 4. Also, he had some marvelous ideas on recycling. And then again, to part B of that question, not too thrilled about the BOPU getting a 5% increase, because again, every year they've gone before the city council asking for more. And again, at this time when we're paying high gas, high food prices, you're going to throw a 5% increase. And again, I understand the services and what have you, but bottom line is things that if I knock on your door and I say, Lynn, geez, what the heck's going on here? Tell me again your concerns about the landfill, and as I mentioned, raising the prices from Board of Public Utilities.
So one thing I'm fiscally conservative. I want to know, if you're going to ask for more money, what does that look like? What does that mean? And why are you asking for why do you need that increase? Show me in a document. Show me why. I'm not just going to say, oh, okay, you need more money. Sure. I want to know why. I'm going to do my homework. I'm going to do that research on that. Boy, trash is an
Now, how would you explain? This is the one thing a politician never does. How do you explain that to the constituents? You can't really have so much an open forum, but like you said, you got a Facebook page, whatever the case. How do you explain that though to the citizens that, hey, they've come before us, they're asking for more money? What do you think?
Well, I think that there needs to be transparency. There needs to be, so the mayor's budget that gets put together every year in the spring needs to have some narrative on why these increases are being requested. What is the narrative? Why? What is the statistics behind it? What are the projections behind it? What is the data behind it? It needs to be in a narrative form. It does need to be transparent, and so I do think that that's kind of part of what the mayor needs to do as well when he's presenting his budget, because the mayor develops the budget and then it goes to the city council for approval, and the city council gets to pick it apart and look at it and those kinds of things. And I would be one to ask tough questions. If that wasn't provided for me, I'm going to ask those questions. Why do we need this? Why do we need to increase? Why are all those good questions? I'm going to be asking that. Now you're going back to trash. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you on the landfill.
No. And I don't know if a great trash is trash. Trash is a problem everywhere. But
we are growing.
Right, we are growing. So, and I do think I had a grandma who lived through the Depression era, and let me tell you, she had very little trash because she used everything. She recycled. She used it over again. She never had leftovers because she ate everything. If she cooked a chicken, it was down to the bones, and then she would boil the bones, and she would, we are such a society that we just throw everything away. I can remember a point in time where I had a TV and something was wrong with it, and I wanted to get it fixed. Guess what? Nobody fixes TVs anymore. You know why? Because you throw them away and you go buy a new one. We are a throwaway society. So we need to figure out, recycling is an interesting thing. I don't think we do a good enough job recycling because we have those green bins, but my green bin gets filled up really fast. And I can't even remember when they're coming around to pick up my green bin. And sometimes it's weeks in between. So I think recycling is something we need to work on. There's just other things that we could help support the community knowing about recycling your trash, maybe maybe trash in general. I don't know. It's a stinky problem.
All right. Well, Lynn, as we are running short on time, we want to thank you oh so much for joining us here again, running for Ward 2 City Council. And again, we encourage everybody to get out and vote on November 8th, next Tuesday. And those of you that voted early and absentee, well, thank you for doing that. But again, make sure you cast your constitutional ballot. Your constitutional right to go to the ballot box. Again, one person, one vote. Nick, you always like to wrap things up, so I'm going to throw it over your way. Lynn, here's the tough question of the day.
Well, again, tough question is more so of for folks tuning in, whether it is on the visual side, listening in, what's the best way for folks to get in contact with you if they want more information from you, or again, if you are elected to that position, how can they get a hold of you if, again, we're looking for representation? What's the best way?
So right now, I want you to call me. I'm open. You call me on the phone. We'll talk. We'll have a good dialogue. My phone number is area code 307-421-0823. I am on Facebook, Lynn Huylar for FOR City Council. So you can find me there as well. If I'm elected, we're going to grow some things. I'm gonna maybe do a website. I'm gonna really grow my presence so people can really find me in more purposeful ways. So
a candidate that wants to be transparent. There's a bulletin right there. Lynn Huylar, thank you so much for joining us here on 1480 KRAE, and the best of luck to you coming up on Tuesday. All right, that's going to wrap up KRAE Reports we can review for today. We will be back with the Pro Show tomorrow. We'll talk some sports. Nick's going to have to get me caught up on sports because I was gone for a week. I know the teams that I wanted to win won, so I'm in pretty good shape there.
3 out of the 5 county teams are moving on to the semifinals, including Central and East and Pine Bluffs, which, again, Pine Bluffs, we will have that contest coming up here this Friday afternoon, 4 p.m. is the kickoff, live from Pine Bluffs as they will host Rocky Mountain, team they lost to last year in the semifinals. So looking for a revenge as they look for a state title. So, again, looking forward to that contest.
So it's the Grizz and the Hornets, if I'm not mistaken, coming up here on
Correct.
Friday. All right, so we're going to wrap things up here with KRAE Reports that we can review. We invite you to enjoy your Monday. And again, before you go to bed Saturday night, remember, we fall back 1 hour. I know it's going to throw off the body chemistry and the clock, but again, we return to standard time officially 2 a.m. on Sunday. So again, fall back 1 hour when you go to bed this Saturday night. That's going to wrap things up. This is 1480 KRAE. Good afternoon.